Cool. Hey, Frank. Well, thank you for doing this interview. I found you and Lisette through your blog. You guys moved to Spain on a non-lucrative visa, and I found your experience and your story really interesting. So just to kick off, why don't you tell everybody kind of who you guys are, how long you've been in Spain, where you are, where you're from, just a little tight version of that.
Okay, well, first, thanks for having me, James. It's nice to be talking to you.
Cool.
Yeah, we actually left Canada in 2014.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't an intention to come to Spain. We wanted to travel the world. So we traveled the world since 2014. We lived a year in Croatia. We got tired of traveling. We decided to stay a year in Croatia and see if that worked out. And after a year in Croatia, we said, oh, no, let's go back to traveling. In 2019, we started thinking, we're getting old. We have to start thinking about our future, where we're going to settle down. And we said, of all the places we visited in Europe, we felt most comfortable with Spain. We both speak the language.
Okay.
We like the culture. It's not too far from our family in Canada. I have my mom in Mexico, my dad and my son in Montreal. So it's an easy flight. So we thought, Spain, it makes sense. It's not too expensive compared to most places in Western Europe. So we said, let's give Spain a shot. We wanted to get our permanent residency by the time we're 60.
Okay. Why is that? What were you kind of looking for there, that timing?
Well, we just figured we're getting older and that we wanted to have a base or home somewhere. And we don't want to go back to Canada. At this point, neither of us are working. We enjoy traveling. We love European culture. We don't really want to go back to Canada. So we said, we've always wanted to have permanent residency somewhere in Europe. And just Spain made the most sense. So we started looking into it basically late 2019. We came over in early 2020 just to have a look around, and then of course got stuck in the lockdown and got stuck in Leon in northern Spain for 4 months. But then we went back to Montreal and got our non-lucrative. We were back here last year, at the end of last year.
Wow. So you got stuck here while you were traveling, as you were sort of doing a scouting trip and you got locked down here. Was that what happened?
That's exactly what happened. What happened was we decided we'll make Spain our home. We'll do a recruiting trip, just a scouting out trip. We had 3 months planned. We were almost halfway through it when COVID hit, and we just got locked down in Leon.
Wow.
So So
and Frank, a lot of people, one of the things we cover in the course is the scouting trip, and obviously it's really important. I guess two-part question. One, how much time had you guys spent in Spain? How well did you know the country? Because obviously that affects, people, if they know the country really well, they're like, I'm moving to Madrid or I'm moving to Valencia. They've kind of done their scouting trip over many vacations. And two, I guess, for those 3 months, how did you plan that out? That's a good chunk of time, which I think is great to really figure out. So what were the objectives? So first, like time in Spain, and your objectives of those 3 months.
Well, okay, the first time we came was in 2016. We spent 3 months in Sevilla, and we really enjoyed Sevilla. We liked it, but it's hot. It gets really hot. And we said, I'm not sure. Let's have a look around, see what else there is. And we wanted to be close to nature. I wanted to be close to nature. I like hiking. I like beaches. But we also wanted some culture. We wanted to be a place where we can assimilate. We didn't really want an expat town, really, which is what we've ended up staying in. But that's a long story. But
I'm curious to hear that story. But anyway, we'll get there.
So we checked out Malaga, Granada. We went up to Jaén, Alicante, Valencia, and we were in Leon when it all happened. So our trip got cut short.
Okay. And so the structure of those 3 months was really just to visit a bunch of places. And would you just wander around in each place, or did you have specific things that you wanted to do? Were you looking at like rental prices or, house prices or?
Not at that point. We were more looking at different places and what would hit us. When we lived a year in Croatia, it's because we went to Split and we loved the city. We fell in love with it right away. And we figured, we have to see these different places. get the boots on the ground, see them live, and see if there's something that really hits us.
Okay.
And honestly, I can't say anything did.
Interesting.
Yeah, there's no single place. And talking to a lot of people, Spain, there's not, it seems to me, there's not one single place that it really appeals to what you like as an individual, what interests you. But it wasn't an obvious choice for us, and it still isn't actually. We're in Nerja now, which is about 45 minutes from Malaga. It's a town we really enjoy, but I don't know if we're going to be here long term. Like if it's our forever home. So
does that feel okay? The idea, I mean, I often say to people, you know, take time, let it, you know, be ready to be maybe, you know, not happy after 6 months with your first spot, you know, or want to change. So does that kind of feel okay for you guys, or does it make you feel a bit nervous if you maybe haven't sort of nailed it yet? Or are you totally comfortable with that?
No, we're entirely comfortable with that. We've been here a year now.
Yeah.
We have a beautiful apartment. It's a beautiful town. I'm going on my first hike next week. I look forward to. I like the nature. Because of lockdown, things haven't really been normal yet, but we're slowly easing into it, and we've got a whole bunch of activities. So, you know, the thing is that sometimes you fall in love with a place. You know, sometimes you fall in love with it right away. Sometimes it takes a bit of time. So we're going to give it a shot. And
I was just going to say, Frank, one thing, you know, that I found interesting, I think it was on Spain.mark, right? One of your blogs, and I'll make sure to put both your blogs down below. You wrote articles, you and Lisette wrote articles about the different places that you were visiting. And I think, you know, I remember you were kind of impressed by Jaén. I remember reading an article there, and you were like, wow, we didn't expect this. And, you know.
No. And it's always nice going to a place where you have zero expectations. Yeah. And we're actually going to go back there because our first contact in Spain, an Australian woman, she lives in Martos, just outside Jaén. Okay. And we became friends. She gave us a couple of tips, and we're going to go visit her in a couple of months. And we want to see Jaén more because it's an authentic Spanish town. Yeah. The landscapes are beautiful. Yeah. It's not as manicured as some of the towns around, you know, you see dog shit on the streets, and it's not totally tidy, but it felt very authentic. It is very authentic. And I think it is interesting. I do remember reading one of your early articles that you were like, you know, we don't want to be in the expat zone. And then, you know, not that Nerja is 100% that, it's a beautiful town, but it's obviously in the Malaga region. It is a bit more of a summer tourist town. So I think, you know, picking a spot to live is such a big decision for people. So you're in a place and you're not 100% convinced. What are the pros and cons of Nerja for you where you're at? You know, I think it's interesting for people to hear that. Well, the nature, the mountains, the sea, the cost of living is good. We're close to an international airport, and that's a big thing because starting next year, we want to start traveling again. So, you know, we've been here for a year and haven't really seen too much of anything. Yeah. So I think as a base, it'll make for a great base because the airport's not far away and there's tons to see, and it's an international airport. We can go almost anywhere in Europe. So for that, you know, you can't really beat Nerja too much. Cons is that maybe it's a little more of an expat place than we figured. But there's pros with that too. We love Indian food. There's a whole bunch of Indian restaurants. So, you know, we have to give it more time, and maybe we'll fall in love with it. Maybe after 5 years or 3 years, we're gonna say we have to move somewhere a little bit more remote or smaller. I'm not sure yet. Or a bigger city. you both speak Spanish, which is the big challenge for a lot of people to move to the quote unquote more authentic place. And so, you know, things come with pros and cons. So that's interesting. So just tell us a little bit about your immigration route. So I think you were non-lucrative visa. That was, you know, that is a really common visa for a lot of people from the US, from Canada, from the UK now. Everybody has their own experience. Did you do it yourself? Did you use a lawyer? You know, what were the challenges, or was it easy? It just took time. So tell us a little bit about that. It was actually pretty easy. I mean, there's a lot of paperwork involved, but if you're organized, we went back after our lockdown in Spain. We went back to Montreal. You have to do it from your home city. And then we got our paperwork in order, which took about a month to get all our certificates and then to get certain ones translated.
Yeah.
I think we had our appointment. Once we had everything together, we had our appointment on the 1st of September. Mm-hmm. And 2 weeks later, they gave us the go-ahead.
Wow.
Booked our flights, and we were out on the 30th of September.
So you were ready to travel. You didn't have to, you booked your flights once you were confirmed, right? Once you had the visa confirmed.
That's right, yeah. Because we didn't, they tell you it might take up to 90 days.
Yeah.
So we were just playing it safe, but they don't issue the visa until you actually have your flight. So they tell you, okay, you've been approved, but you're going to have to book your flight, and then we're going to issue the visa.
Okay. So, and how was that arrival as well? You know, you'd obviously spent some time in Spain, but, you know, once you get here, you have to get your immigration finalized. You know, you have to find a place to live, an apartment. Yes. How were those first weeks, you know, or month or so?
Well, we were still in the middle of COVID. This was we arrived on November the 1st, and we were still unsure of where we wanted to live. And our first choice at that point was Granada. But somebody told us about Nerja, and we said, oh, you know what, let's go check it out. Yeah. It's close to Malaga Airport. Let's stay there a week. And then we decided, oh yeah, we like it. I mean, we didn't love it, but we really liked it. And we said, you know, for this time, for right now, this would be a great place to, and we weren't sure about Granada. So we just said, let's give it a shot. And we just didn't see ourselves traveling around looking some more at this point.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a hard time to move. Yeah. I mean, going into winter, and then of course, you know, we had a big surge in January, so it really got bad again.
It did.
So I can understand you're not kind of wanting to spread your, I mean, you can't spread your wings. You couldn't get out of, couldn't leave Andalusia at that point. Yeah.
No, at that point you couldn't. You couldn't even travel between provinces. So we actually had no problems. We found a really nice apartment within 2 weeks.
Okay. How did you find that? Did you just look on Idealista, or did you use an agent or something like that?
We used an agent.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
We used an agent.
A recommendation, or did you just kind of stumble across someone in the, you know, an office in the high street kind of thing?
It was a recommendation. I can't remember who gave us a recommendation, but it was a recommendation, and she was good.
Okay.
Yeah,
great.
she gave us good. She was good.
Okay, that's good. And I mean, any other experts that you used in your move? I think particularly people, not so much Canada or the UK, but I think particularly people from the States are really concerned about tax and any kind of retirement income that they have from back home, particularly because as US citizens, you always remain a tax resident. But for Canada, it's a little like me, New Zealand. I'm no longer a tax resident in New Zealand. So was there anybody, you know, financial planning or anything around that, where you just kind of like, we'll figure it out?
I actually contacted a lawyer, and I consulted with her, and she looked over some of our documents and answered some of my questions. Yeah. I think I paid her about 75 euros. So it wasn't much. Okay. It was more of a little consulting fee. I did everything by myself.
Okay.
And it was pretty straightforward. And the lady at the consulate in Montreal was very, very helpful. So if I had any questions, I would write her. She helped me out. But we just renewed our first year a few weeks ago.
Cool.
So this time I had to do it in Spain. And it was too soon. I said, I'm not ready for this anymore. And this time I used the same lawyer to do our renewal. I just couldn't cope with the paperwork, and she got it done within a week. And
great.
So we're now renewed for another 2 years, so I don't have to worry about it anymore. But I think I'm happy with the way you did it. I did it the first time by myself. Second time, I didn't want to deal with the local office here. Yeah. And so, yeah.
I think that's a good tip. And I think, you know, I do hear people that once they get into their, you know, they do it themselves, they're doing it in their home country. Once they get into Spain, they're busy figuring out their life here. You know, their project of living here is already underway. So then to go back and to kind of have to go through this process, and you feel like you probably have more to lose if you got turned down or you didn't fill it out right, because you're already here, right? The risk feels higher.
That's exactly right. That's exactly what happened. I said, I don't want to screw this up, because we went through the same thing in Croatia. We stayed a year, and then we were going through it the second time. We said, we said, let's just do it with a lawyer.
Yeah,
And,
no,
and
and
it
I
was
think
worth it.
it's cheaper to do a renewal through a lawyer than to do your initial application. Or you can do as you did with your initial application, is just, pay someone for their time. If you've got 10 questions, is obviously another way to do it. I think that's really good. And so, I was going to ask how long it's taken you guys to adjust into Spanish life, but I guess, you've come at a weird time. So how's this year been, just kind of life-wise?
I still don't feel that we're living here. Well, I mean, we are, but I don't feel that we're in the culture quite yet. We haven't really traveled much, except to a few of the neighboring towns. We have, a lot of nice locals that we talk to every day. But we don't feel like we're in it yet. We hope that happens next year. We hope to travel around, do a lot of traveling around next year. The other issue has been getting my driver's license, which has been very complicated because of some bureaucracy here. And so I can't rent a car and I can't own a car. So I'm working on that right now, and I'm hoping by next year we could drive around, discover a lot of places.
Because you're sort of caught out because you've been here longer than 6 months. You can't use your Canadian license, but to get your Spanish license, you can't. There's no agreement, right? So you have to sit it and do the full process effectively in Spain.
That's right. Yeah, I can't. Like UK citizens can transfer their license, right? But Canadians and Americans can't. So
New Zealanders can't either, although apparently they're figuring it out this year. I don't have my license here either because we've never had a car, and I've never, whenever we rented, my wife drove, but now we have a child now, and they're looking at changing this over. But I would have got my license if it wasn't for that. So what's been challenging about getting your license? Because I think that's a big question.
Oh boy, it shouldn't be complicated. It's something really stupid. It's really something stupid. Is I went on the DGT website to pay for my license fee and entered my bank account number, and it tells me no, it's your account number doesn't match your name. It took me a while to figure that out. I went to the bank and said, oh yeah, because when you opened your bank account, you did it with your passport. So now we have to change the information on your account from your passport to your niece. Okay, fine, no problem. How long that's going to take? Oh, maybe 2 days. Well, that's 3 weeks ago. And I've been talking to everybody, trying to get it done. I guess I could go to the office in Malaga with my documents, and then I have to go there and make an appointment, come home, and go back for an appointment. I said, forget it. I'll just wait until the bank straightens this out, and then I can book it online and go in person, because you're gonna need that at some point anyway. You're gonna have to pay your car.
That's an interesting little thing. I haven't heard of that before. So there's always something new to learn about with bureaucracy, right? Some new way they're going to catch you out. And so you have to learn, you have to quote unquote, learn to drive in Spain. You have to take lessons and then take the test, right? So how are you going to pay a autoescuela, like a, driving academy and take lessons? Is that what you're going to do? Or?
No, I've done it on my own. Like there's a website called Practica Test.
Okay.
And it's supposed to be the biggest online course in Spain. And so I think it cost me about 60 euros. I got this pamphlet, and you can do online tests. So I was ready to do the test. But now I kind of dropped it until I can actually pay them and get my appointment. But then once, So I'm going to do it on my own.
And then once you get and I'll make sure that link is in below to that site. So once you get your theory license, so then you will need to do some actual practical driving lessons with the school, or you're just going to sit the practical test straight away?
No, I have to. I do the theoretical, and then I have to do the practical, which I believe is 5 hours of driving with the driving school.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. You've still got to drive with the driving school. Okay.
Yeah. And before that, you have to do the medical exam. So I did the medical exam. I got my thing, but now, of course, it's going to expire because it's taken like 3 months to get this whole other thing straightened out. And I've got a trip to Mexico coming, and so I'm going to have to redo the medical, and then hopefully get my appointments for the theoretical, and then I can get going with the practical.
And you're thinking, why did I move to Spain? So I was going to ask you, this is a nice segue. I guess, what has been the most feel like it's been a challenging time to live here, but you talked about you've kind of been locked down. You haven't really had a chance to spread your wings, the two of you, yet. So has that been the most challenging side of it? Just feeling constrained, or have there been other challenges? I mean, you guys speak the language, so that's often a big challenge for people. So have there been, making friends is often a big challenge. Has that been hard?
Yeah, we haven't met any friends at all. We haven't had a coffee or drink with anybody at all. Hopefully that'll change, but yeah, it's sure. But I would say that you're exactly right. And wherever you are in the world, I think over the last year, you're having issues.
Yeah.
Probably the biggest problem has been the bureaucracy, but that's a minor thing. We'll get that sorted. Otherwise, it's been really, really easy. People are really nice. Everybody we've met is very, very nice. And we're happy to be here. The language is, if you speak the language, it's a huge asset. And people make the effort. They see you making the effort, and they slow it down for you. And so no, it's been an easy transition. We can see ourselves living here. We have no regrets about that at all.
That's great, particularly moving at a challenging time to feel that confident. So you've got some trips you want to make in Spain. Imagine you've got your driver's license. What are the first couple of trips you want to make? Where do you want to explore?
I'm actually curious about Galicia.
Okay.
My wife is always complaining about the heat. And I like hiking. I like mountains. I like the sea, or the ocean. So if we've got that, and actually one thing you asked me, the biggest surprise, the biggest negative has actually been the mosquitoes here. It's a thing that people don't tell you about. You come to Spain, and they've got these tiger mosquitoes along the coast here.
Okay.
And they're daytime mosquitoes, and they're unrelenting. They're always after you.
Wow. Okay. So that rings a bell, actually. Yeah. Okay. So that's Malaga, the Malaga area.
Oh, I've heard it's all the way up the coast.
Okay.
But I don't know, but all the way up to Barcelona, I hear. But it's a real problem. And it's all the expats talk about on the expat pages here on the coast. It's these damn mosquitoes, and they're really bad. They're aggressive, and they get you during the day. And if you're outside doing gardening, and we do a lot of gardening, they eat you alive.
Interesting. Yeah, we don't get mosquitoes at many in Madrid. So I have had, I can't put my finger on when I've had issues with mosquitoes. And I remember I have been down on the beach when I haven't had mosquitoes. So I wonder if it's seasonal as well, or is it all year?
They started in, I think, May. That's when, because we moved here on the 1st of November. Yeah. May, and I'm told that it's going to last until about mid-October. So I'm hoping it ends soon.
It sounds like itchy. Actually, that now I'm thinking, when I was in Huelva, I don't know if it's a tiger mosquito, but they always get me when I'm in bed. And you close up your bedroom, and then you wake, and then you hear one. It's like, oh shit. And then you got to spend like 30 minutes looking for it, because you'll never sleep if that mosquito stays in your room.
Yeah.
Sounds hard. Well, you're going to say something?
No, we've screened up all the windows, so we're okay indoors.
Okay.
I've had to, because she's getting allergic reactions to these mosquitoes.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So I've done all the windows, so we're okay. But when we go out, we get a lot of bites.
And would you say, I mean, it sounds like you haven't had a lot of interaction with people, possibly because of COVID and things like that. So, what would be your ideal social circle mix? What would that look like in terms of, expat, Spaniard mix? What would you be doing with people and things like that?
Well, I mean, it'd be nice to make local friends, Spanish friends. I think that'd be nice. But it's nice making expat friends too, because you're sharing some of the same experiences. And next week I'm going for a hike with a group. And I'm looking forward to that too, because you meet different people. And so, I mean, I think you want to have a mix of friends. We've always had a mix of friends. We lived a year in Croatia. We had a lot of Croatian friends. And actually, there weren't too many expats there, so we didn't make any expat friends. All our friends were locals.
Did you speak Croatian? Or
No.
How did you make those? How did you make those friends?
Croatians actually speak a good level of English.
Okay.
Yeah. It's actually surprising. In the Balkans, the level of English is pretty good.
Yeah. Okay. So Galicia. And I guess just to kind of wrap things up, if someone's making the move, someone's taking a course, dreaming of moving to Spain in the next year, 2 years, 6 months, any 1 or 2 pieces of advice that you would give them from your experience, thing or two that's really stayed with you that you wish somebody had told you beforehand.
Well, the language is obviously the number one thing.
Yeah.
But I would say also just visit a whole bunch of places, tour around, see as many places as you can, and decide where you want to live. I think, like I said, I don't feel like there's one place to live in Spain. I think there's many different places, and it depends on what you like.
There's a lot of variety, right? I mean, Galicia is very different from Nerja.
Yeah.
Very, very different. Okay, that's great. So I mean, Frank, you guys have a couple of blogs. What's the best way for people to find, follow you guys? Is it to check out your blogs, or Instagram? Is that also something, or YouTube?
We don't really use too much social media. We have our blogs, of course. Barbecue Boy being our main blog. It covers our travels since 2014 and before that. So it's a popular blog. We started with Mapping Spain just last year, and we're still working on that. And just started working on YouTube. We don't do much on YouTube, but we're going to have fun with that, just a new challenge. So if people want to check out our YouTube channel, we're going to add a lot of material there as well in the near future.
Cool.
But no, social media, otherwise, I don't.
Probably for the best. It's a big time. It's a big time suck. Well, that's cool. I'll make sure the links are down below, and the YouTube link as well. And thank you for having this conversation, Frank. It's super inspiring for people, and congratulations on moving mid-COVID. It's only going to get better from here.
Oh yeah. Well, thank you for talking to me. It's been lonely.
Yeah, it's good. Good to talk. All right, mate. Bye-bye.
Okay. Thanks, James. Bye.